We got to see Angel City travel to the East Coast and take on the reigning NWSL champs in Washington Spirit. Let's talk about a little bit about this Angel City game, because so many players for Washington Spirit are on the national team and are just huge players. Andy Sullivan, the defensive midfielder for Washington Spirit, has been out with a calf injury for a number of games. She was out this game as well. But when you look at Angel City, they're a team that's proven that they can keep shutouts on the board. They can beat North Carolina Courage. They can beat teams like Washington Spirit. This match ended in a 1-0 win for Angel City, and the goal coming from none other than Christen Press. What did you think of this match, Laura?
To be honest, a bit shocked, right? I never really felt like the Spirit entirely got going. I kept wanting a little bit more from them. I thought Trinity Rodman was a handful consistently, but you see some of her frustration a bit throughout the game. And credit to Angel City. No offense to them, because they've had some good wins, right? We saw them play at home the last 2 weeks and get the results that they, not against Orlando, obviously, but 1-1 coming to this game, but still some performances I think that not everybody was expecting given their Challenge Cup performances. So coming into this game, I didn't have like a ton of high hopes for the expansion team, just given how good I consider the Washington Spirit, how many threats they have. But you mentioned Andy Sullivan, Kelly O'Hara obviously didn't play. She has a bit of an injury. You have Dorian Bailey, who's making her way back. We saw Baggett go down in the Challenge Cup final, so still out for her.
Ashley Sanchez didn't get a start in this match. She came in the second half for Chris Ward.
Exactly. You saw the tempo up incredibly once Sanchez came on. But, credit to Angel City. They traveled cross country. They had an understanding of their game plan. Freya Coombe even talked about the tactical change that they made with Press switching sides, playing against Goff. That's how she got the goal, playing on as a left winger instead of the right wing where she originally started this game. So an incredible finish, right, for her. I think that Angel City will be extremely thrilled with that performance. And then I think you're going to look at Washington Spirit, who will not be thrilled at all, right?
Yeah.
And a team that's still, in some ways, I think, recovering, because they had a lot of games in a short amount of time, which I think in general, at least, this is like what we're seeing, right? Some of the teams have done pretty well in the Challenge Cup, maybe haven't really gotten the results they wanted early on in the season, where the teams that didn't, are looking pretty fresh and doing a bit better. But I mean, all of this to be said, and in this game in particular, I think super early on in the season, and tough to say as this kind of starts to roll out. I mean, I don't have any answers at this point in time, because some of these things are a bit shocking to me, but I love it. So I'm like, let's go.
I love it. You don't have any answers, but a month ago, did you predict that Angel City San Diego would be the top two? I know.
In fact, I thought, a month ago, maybe San Diego would hovering about like middle of the park, and Angel City, I was like, goodness gracious, not so much. I'll be curious though, because this is going to be a long season right now. And, even if we're just taking this Angel City and Washington Spirit team, when you look at the Washington Spirit's roster, a lot of depth, right? And so we're seeing rotation of players. We're seeing, you could change out at least 4 of those players just from last night, maybe 5 that aren't typical starters. And outside of Allie Riley, that's the starting lineup consistently for Angel City. So there's a pretty big disparity there. And I thought Lucy did really well having to cover that position against Trinity Rodman. No, thank you if I'm Tyler Lucy.
Oh, heck no.
I thought she actually did really well for a player that doesn't usually play that position. So, I think.
And that's something that I'm going to give some credit to head coach Freya Coombe for that one, because she also took Jasmine Spencer, who was a forward through and through, and Spencer has been starting and dominating in the right back for Angel City. And then you look at a player like Tyler Lucy, who has the fundamentals of a soccer player and the physicality to match up against a Trinity Rodman. So why not throw her in the back line? That's what Coombe does. She can look at players individual talents and their personality traits almost, and move them from forward into the back line. So good luck, Tyler Lucy, getting out of that back line.
Well, right. I also do think it speaks though to one issue that I see potentially can become like more of a problem down the line is the lack of depth that they have, right? I mean, obviously,
that's already been a bit of a problem.
Oh yeah, certainly. And that's why Tyler Lucy, you don't have anybody else that's a natural left back that makes more sense to go against a Trinity Rodman, right? Now you still have Madison Hammond, who I think started the season well, but Reed coming in and seemingly having a better partnership alongside Gilles. So that's been the main center back partnership. Obviously, we're going to see Paige Nielsen come in, and then there was like a chaotic situation with her earring that took like the rest of the game to come out, so she never came on. So I mean, listen, we talk about chaos. There's that in general is like the funniest story of the weekend to me. However, I'm just saying I'll be very curious because I think it is a long season, right?
Yeah.
And injuries happen. I'll be curious just to see what, in terms of maybe a Tobin Heath, right? I did hear she was at the game last night. What does that mean? Is there something in the works? I don't entirely know that. Haven't started working my magic to try to find behind the scenes information there.
Come on, Lori. This is why we bring you on. Let's go.
I'll report back next week, okay? If there hasn't been any sort of like news break before then. But I think that there's just a lot of questions still for every team, and we obviously highlighted that game, but still.
Yes. So for those asking, I see Stephen in the chat here asking about Tobin Heath. She was with Arsenal, ended and terminated her contract early, came back to the States. She was at the Washington Spirit Angel City game that played at Audi Field in Washington, D.C. But as Lori reported, no news yet. But Lori, get on that. Report back. We'll find out about that one.
Don't worry.
I love to hear that. So Christen Press, she knocked down a goal in that game. She's a player that we've talked a lot about. We're going to talk a little bit more about her later in this episode, but there's another national team player that has been on a bit of a tear in the NWSL with San Diego Wave FC. Alex Morgan, she's been in the national team camp for years, such a namestay, but not called in most recently, wanting to get a lot of consistent time at the club level. And that's exactly what we're seeing from Alex Morgan. Last week, 4 goals for Alex Morgan. She broke a record, became one of just 3 players to do that in the NWSL, 2 of those being a penalty kicks in San Diego's win over Gotham FC. And then most recently, this last weekend, week 3 in the NWSL regular season, Alex Morgan, she gets another penalty kick goal in the match against Chicago Red Stars. San Diego ends up winning this match 2-1, but Alex Morgan gets on the board first for the Wave with that penalty kick. So 3 PK goals from Morgan in the last 2 weeks. But run of play, how she's been doing. What are your thoughts on Alex Morgan in this NWSL run and getting so much consistent time with San Diego?
Yeah, I think that's just it, right? She's healthy. It seems like she's extremely happy being in San Diego. She's been vocal about that. Regardless of people's individual thoughts on that. Like she was mentioning that this is the first time that she's actually been happy playing with a club team. So, awesome for San Diego because they're getting the best out of her. And I think this is a player that we've known from the very start of her career at international level that she can score goals. Get her in front of the net, she will score goals. And especially if she's having fun, especially if the style of play is an attacking style play, which we do see from San Diego. So, and then also a player that understands what it means to step up. I mean, 3 penalty kicks in 2 weeks is a lot, obviously, but to finish all 3 chances is a whole nother thing, right?
And differently. She finished them very differently.
So to have a player that you rely on in those positions, that's not easy, right? I mean, the kickers has the advantage, right? We always say that. However, when you're somebody that's consistently taking them, it reminds me a lot of Megan Rapinoe. In those moments when you need somebody to step up and convert, Alex Morgan clearly has the confidence to do that. And you're seeing a confident striker right now. I mean, listen, there's been a lot of talk on this show, but just in general of the U.S. national team players, what it means. And to me, she's proving herself, right? Like, I'm not sure she needed to prove herself. It was just about staying healthy and playing consistently. But that is something Vlatko Andonovski has talked about. getting back these players and seeing how they do. And she's taken those opportunities.
I agree completely. It's really fun and impressive to watch Alex Morgan play. And she's talked about that, getting consistent time, being happy, being in a rhythm with the team. Because as a national team player, when you're playing with your club team and leaving every month or every other month to go play with a different team, it's really hard to get that consistency and that rhythm. I want to ask about this, though. Alex Morgan didn't draw these penalty kicks. Now, yes, she did finish them all, but the first two going up against Ashlyn Harris, who knows her very well and knows how to defend against her. And then the second time going up against Alyssa Nair for Chicago Red Stars. Is this still a big positive for Alex Morgan, despite having the advantage, despite not being the player that actually caused the penalty kicks, but still having the confidence to knock them down?
Well, I think it's even more impressive because you're playing against two goalkeepers that know you extremely well, and no doubt with these goalkeepers have studied or faced Alex for a number of training sessions with the national team, and just understand her tendencies as a player in general. So yeah, I mean, I think there's the composure to step up and take them, even if you don't draw it, right? Like, yeah. I mean, sometimes that might even be better because then you just have a bit more calmness to your approach. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a player that you could make the argument as one of the best strikers right now in the league, if not the best. Yeah. Right? I mean, we would have put Mal Pugh in that certainly a few weeks ago, right? But then gets concussed and now has been out for a number of weeks, so isn't playing. So, I mean, outside of that, I would say, like, give me the names of who's playing better, right? As a striker. Right. Solely, right? So
yeah, I agree completely. And we're going to talk about it more. Christen Press, Alex Morgan, should they be back in the national team roster?